Here we go. I'm trying to wait until I'm told that I'm live, because I've been told that people have come in and I've been talking and they feel like they've missed out on things. So now we're live. Lovely to see you all. Hi guys. Michael wins the prize tonight for being first on the chats. Hello Michael. Lovely to have you in situ tonight. Who else is here? Karen is here. You just texted me to say that Peter's out and about, so hopefully I'll remember just to say hi to Karen today. Fiona, David, hello. Kay, lovely to see you. You'll notice the doors behind me are open. We've closed the gate to the courtyard, and we're just letting the cool air blow through. It's beautiful here. Hello, John and Cotty. How you going? Hopefully it's a bit cool. It's a bit cool now where you are. Is it raining? Karen said that it's raining in Mount Eliza, I guess. That's where you are. Anyway, what a stinking couple of days we've had, and we've started picking grapes here at Moorooduc. We've been pressing off some Chardonnay juice, which Jeremy sent me a video of, which I'm going to pop up. Oh, in the city, Karen. Okay, cool. Yeah, I've been pressing off some first batch of Chardonnay juice, which tastes delicious. So I'll be popping that video up on the socials later tonight. Depending on, I don't think it's supposed to rain very much tonight here, so we're expecting a little bit of rain, but nothing to really disrupt the picking schedule. Fingers crossed. But it looks like we're picking some grapes tomorrow and on the weekend, and I'll be here all weekend processing fruit. So if anyone's coming by, do give us a wave as you wander into cellar door. It's always nice to say hello. Okay, Karen, hello. Joan and Karen. Craig's out with Riley tonight. Okay. So he's over the lurgy. That's good to hear. Hello, Zach and Jack. Welcome back. Lovely to see you. Rod and Sharpie, hello. How are you? Welcome back. Oh, it's so nice. We've got quite a few of you who we lost for. Hello, Sue and Daryl. How are you going? You must have snuck in and bought a box when I wasn't looking. Very good. Karen, I know it's very exciting. Picking time. Linda's here. Hello, Linda. Linda said that it was too hot to cook, so she's going to get some lamb from the kebab shop, which was a pretty smart idea. Jill's cooking me some little lamb cutlets because I couldn't bear the idea of turning the oven on. So I hope that you guys have managed to sort out your snacks to be appropriate to the weather, because I think the lamb will go really nicely. And I was going to suggest a lamb tagine, which is why the title of the email on Monday said spicy lamb. But then I looked at the weather and I went, no, nobody wants to be cooking a tagine and eating a tagine on such a hot day. So changed it around a little bit. Okay, not raining there. Cotty, dark and the wind's turned. Yeah, the wind's turned here too, and it looks kind of hazy on the horizon, which usually means there's a little bit of rain to come. I've got all the windows open, and I don't know if you can hear that, but that I think is a motorbike on the freeway. So obviously the wind is coming from the south now, and blowing all the sound from the Peninsula link here. Hello, Alison. How you going? Lovely to see you. Change in rain in South Yarra. Oh, okay, so it's kind of turned around. Must be coming to us next. Fiona, we have a butcher up the road that does a lovely butterfly lamb leg that we bung on the barbie. Beautiful, Fiona. Sounds good. All right, so 2015 Shiraz is the wine that we are looking at. I hope people have managed to get it to an appropriate temperature. Hello, Shell and Andrew. How are you? Busy staging photos. Andrew's made a little He's roasted eggplant salad with lemon paste and pickled chilies. That'll be delicious, I'm sure. So 2015 Shiraz, it feels quite cool to the touch because it's come out of the wine fridge at 16 degrees. Alison, yours is at 22 degrees. You might want to try this little trick then that I'm about to do. So got it open. Got my Shiraz glass. I know it's as big as my head. It's not quite. It is when I do that. It's bigger than my head. Oh, giant glass of wine. So I've got two glasses. Hello, Nareem. How lovely to see you. That smells good. Okay, that's my glass unadulterated. I've got another glass the same that I'm going to pour. I'm not going to ice it quite yet because you want to do the little taste test. But I've got a little glass of ice here. Now, adding ice to red wine is a very much a last-ditch effort to make it more drinkable on a hot day. So if you can, yes, Karen, if you can pop it in a frozen wine sleeve for 10 to 20 minutes, if you can pop it in the freezer wrapped in a wet tea towel for 10 minutes or so, basically until the tea towel is frozen on the outside, and that makes the wine cold quite quickly in the bottle. You just need to remember not to leave it in the freezer, because if you leave it in the freezer and it freezes, then you could have shards of glass everywhere. If you've got a little bit more time, sticking it in the fridge for an hour and then pulling it out to let it warm up, it's good. Alternately, an ice bucket, as I said in my email, all of these things are better ways to cool wine down than putting ice in it. But if you've rushed in from the hot fields and you're really wanting to drink a glass of red wine that is at room temperature in a house, even if your house is air conditioned, it can still be, the wine can still be a little bit warm for optimum tasting. So if it is, then it's going to smell kind of, it's not going to smell focused. It smells kind of fuzzy, and it smells sort of jammy, and it can often smell hot, like not just hot temperature, but alcohol hot. The alcohol, when red wine is too hot, then the alcohol comes off it, and you get this kind of miasma of alcohol swirling around your face. Hello, Sarah and all the tricks. Lovely to see you. Oh, everyone's back. It's so good. Yeah, so sort of fuzzy, Alison, not focused. You need the cooler temperature to get it into focus. So if you can run and put the rest of the bottle in the fridge or in the freezer with the lid on for 5-10 minutes. But if you've got some ice, then have a taste of it if it's a little bit warm. And those of you who have got it at the perfect temperature, then you can just have a taste of it and enjoy it. But if your wine is a little bit warm and you taste it, it smells unfocused. And when you taste it, it tastes like kind of, it tastes warm, and it doesn't taste refreshing. It makes your mouth tired, and it makes you kind of go, ugh. Which is not what we want from our Shiraz, even on a warm day. So if you just take one little ice cube, and a friend of mine in the wine industry taught me this. We were out on a hot night having fancy pizza in Gertrude Street at Ladro, and we'd ordered a half bottle of Brunello. And it came to the table, and it was warm. It was warm, and it was undrinkable. And he called for ice, and I've gone, you can't put ice in Brunello. And he said, you can put ice in anything if you want to change the temperature of it. So 1 cube of ice in there. It is going to dilute the wine a little bit, but that might be a worthwhile compromise if it's going to make the wine taste more refreshing and more delicious on a warm day. The temperature change is almost immediate. So, Alison, if you've got some ice, just pop 1 ice cube into the wine, swirl it a couple of times. It changes temperature almost immediately, and it just brings the wine into focus, which I think is a really useful thing on a hot day. If you feel, if you are having pizza and you feel like a glass of Chianti or a glass of 2015 Shiraz and it's too warm, you're not going to enjoy it. So you want to get it cooler. Ice is not a bad way to do it. I have a friend who drinks rosé with a big handful of ice in it. That's not what I'm suggesting with a red wine, because if you put more than 1 or 2 ice blocks in there, it's going to dilute it completely. But 1 ice block makes a huge difference. And just pour a small glass and put the rest of the wine in the fridge for another 10 minutes. Cotty, what's the best way of gauging the temperature if you don't have a wine fridge? It should feel, on a day like today, the wine should feel slightly cool to the touch, because if you remember, we're hot too. Our bodies are hot, and we're wanting to you can use your digital thermometer, absolutely. Hello, Jeff and Sue. Lovely to see you. And Lonnie in Tassie. Is it snowing there yet? I got a call from Sue this morning, a bit distressed about the fact that it's going to be very cold. cold there for the next couple of days. I'm on my way. So you can use a digital thermometer, or you can just use your body. And if you put your hand up against the glass, if it feels cool on your hand, that's a good temperature. If it feels about the same temperature as your hand, it's too warm, because we're 37 degrees on the inside, and when it's a hot day, you kind of exude heat. Your body's trying to get the heat out of it, so you're giving off heat, and it's going to go into anything that's cooler than you. So Alison, the ice works a treat. It does melt really quickly. Mine's melted in there too, even though that was 16 degrees. And it's now cooler. I actually like it a little bit better than the 16 degrees. So you can even get it a bit cooler than that. Okay, Michael is talking about the wine itself, and I'm going to read your comment, because we should talk about the wine itself. But anyone who's feeling that the wine is not doing it for them straight away, give it a go with it. Thank you very much, Jill. Are you going to show people what you've created for me?
No, because I didn't have time to do my hair and cook.
Oh, fair enough. Okay, well, Jill's just brought me the most fabulous little selection of, there we go, my lamb chops with my little Greek salad. You wouldn't possibly be able to bring me a fork, would you, Jill? Oh, that'd be amazing. Thank you. That looks yum. I'll get to that in a minute. So, Michael, this wine, it is amazing. Michael's saying, wow, I can't tell you emphatically enough how much I love cool climate Shiraz, and this is the epitome. There's a sort of dustiness to it. It's so complex. I agree. I think it's delicious. And with that little, just drop it. I know, aren't they good, Karen? Look at that. Hang on, I'll hold one up, because they are a thing of beauty. And I've got all the other Greek salady bits around it, so I'll get all the flavours, which is awesome. So, yes, back to the wine. Now that you've got it to the right temperature, 2015 Shiraz is in a really beautiful drinking place. Fiona, this is the first for me. Just dropped an ice cube into the wine, and I feel ashamed. It's okay, Fiona. 1 ice cube's okay. 3 ice cubes is too much. If you need 3 ice cubes, then you need to pop it in the fridge and come back to it later. But 1 ice cube is okay. And it does dilute it a little bit, but this wine has got so much concentration, it's worth it for it to be a little bit cooler if it's too warm. Okay, let's talk about this wine. Alison, this was the first Moorooduc Estate wine I was introduced to, really stuck with me. Agree about cool climate Shiraz. I agree. No, I understand, Michael, if you're organised and you get it at the right temperature anyway, or if you don't mind drinking slightly warmer red wine, because a lot of people don't. I was in Perth selling wine last week, and our distributors, everything was a bit warm, and I'm like, can I have some ice to put the red wine on? And they're like, why would you put red wine in ice? It's like, it's 40 degrees out there and the wine's getting warm, and they're like, oh no, this is what wine's supposed to taste like. But I think it's a bit of I know I've told you this story before about cooling wine down, and for me it's a revelation cooling it down. And as I say, Michael, ice is the last resort. But if you can't cool it down any other way, a quick ice block will help. I put the rest of the bottle in the fridge as well. In Darwin, when dining outdoors, I do have the red wine in an ice bucket. Yeah, absolutely. So if you have access to an ice bucket and enough ice to do sort of half ice, half water, that's the best, because then you can put it in, take it out, put it in, take it out, and you can get the temperature absolutely perfect. And then you've got a little bit more time to spend with the wine as well, and you get to see how it evolves with different temperatures. So let's talk about this 15 Shiraz. I think we have a little bit of it, and when I was looking at what would be exciting and special to start 2025 Drinks with Kate with, I thought, well, this 2015 Shiraz, I had a bottle of it over Christmas. I think it's in a really beautiful place. I think it's very exciting to see this wine with some bottle age and just letting it sort of have settled down in the bottle and be ready to go. It's got incredibly dense colour, but I guess compared to, if you were comparing it to a McLaren Vale Shiraz or a Barossa, it's probably a bit paler in colour, but compared to whenever we're pouring the Pinots and then we pour the Shiraz last here at Moorooduc, people go, oh, look at that colour, as though they haven't seen any colour in the Pinot at all, which I think is a bit unfair, but I know what they're saying. Fiona, I go for white wine in Darwin to go with the mud crab. Yes, well, that also is an option that many of us would go for, Fiona. I agree. On the nose, this wine has a beautiful black pepper spice to it. I think it's, these Shirazes, when they're really young, they have a slight capsicum, jalapeno kind of green pepper kind of character to them, that with a few years in bottle, that just kind of blows away, and we get these other characters coming up. And I can smell my lamb now. It's kind of wafting at me and doing beautiful things with the aroma of the wine. And that's what I think the perfect food and wine match. The smell of the food along with the smell of the wine makes you hungry and thirsty. It's like, do I have a sip of the wine? Do I have a bite of the food? But it's a wonderful, when they kind of mingle, it's really magical. So black pepper, a little bit of, and it's got, the reason I thought this would go well with a Greek salad style of lamb is that it's got that thyme, oregano, rosemary, herbal notes in it. And it's got this gorgeous kind of dark but fresh blackberry fruit character as well on the nose and on the palate. You can taste that juicy red blackberry character on the palate, and if you're not getting that, again, it's probably because the wine's a little bit too warm. But it's got that juicy blackberry fruit in the mid palate, and then you get all these lovely savoury characters. Oh, Cotty's just said that as well. Hint of sweetness on the tongue just before the spice takes over. It's really lovely. Michael, is this wine drinking perfectly now? I think this wine is drinking very, very well now, and I think that our Shiraz tends to mature a little bit earlier than the Paringa Shirazes. But that said, we've been making this whole bunch style of Shiraz since 2010, and well, this is 2015. We're 2025, so it's 10 years old now. I reckon it's got at least another 10 years in it. It'll change over that time, but it's not going to fall over and fall in a heap in 10 years' time. I think it'll keep doing good things. But I think, Michael, it's pretty delicious right now, so you might not want to wait for 10 years. Have I missed anyone? Karen, funnily enough, I really like this. It has a bright colour, love the pepper nose, love a pepper Shiraz, and so smooth, a little bit of tannin to the side of the palate. Well worth cooling it today. Absolutely, I agree. I think that because it's a cool climate Shiraz, it wants to be served cool. It has some cool flavours to it. It's not jammy like a South Australian Shiraz. So I think drinking jammy red wine on a hot day is even more hard work. I mean, you can cool it down, but it still has that kind of sweet jammy kind of flavour to it. Whereas this, when it's at the right temperature, has a lovely savouriness, has that spiciness, has that herbal note, and has, for me, that kind of sweet lamb fatty meatiness to it as well. Now, Michael, I doubt anyone tasting this in the Grange Blind would believe they were the same grape. Oh, I totally agree. That it is, it's so different from Grange. It's so different from Hill of Grace. It's so different from the SC Pennell McLaren Vale Shiraz that I tasted a couple of weeks ago. It's a grape variety that really reacts to where it's grown and the climate that it's grown in, and it's very able to cope with different climates. If you think about Syrah being grown in, here's Richard. Hello, Richard. Hello. Hi. We saw you coming in the door. Hello. Here he comes. Hey. No, a Hunter Shiraz, Karen, would be really hard work today, even if you did cool it down a little bit, because they have a really different flavour profile. I'm going to eat an olive because it's talking to me. Black olive goes really well with this Shiraz, particularly as that black olive had a bit of lamb sitting on it. So it tastes like lamb and black olive. A lot of people talk about black olive and Cabernet. I think that a cool climate Shiraz has some Cabernet-like aromatics and flavours and works really well with black olive, tomato, feta, all of those kind of Greek salad flavours. Okay, I'm missing all the comments. Rod and Sharpie, the best way to smell pepper? Absolutely, unless you can't smell pepper. Richard can't smell that pepper character There's a percentage of people in the world who just can't smell. Is it called rotundo, Richard? Rotundo, the pepper smell? Is that what it's called? Rotundo? Yes, good. My brain went blank as I started saying it. And there's some people who can't smell rotundo, and Richard's one of those people. So he'll kind of open a bottle and say, or pull a sample out of a barrel and say, does that smell peppery? I'll say, oh yes, or oh, not really. So I think it's a lovely way to smell pepper as well, Rod and Sharpie. It's how I like my pepper in Shiraz. It does, Fiona, have a lovely balance of fruit and savoury. The tannins, Jeff, are very subtle and very smooth, and that's one of the things about growing Shiraz in this cool climate, that the tannins build slowly. The skins are not as thick as they can be in hotter climates because they don't have to protect the grapes as much from the heat as they do when you grow it in a Barossa climate or McLaren Vale even. So thinner skins, but still some nice tannins. And because it's 100% whole bunch fermented, then you get some of those stalk tannins, some of those savoury stalk tannins as well. But they're very fine, very elegant. Penfolds have just released La Chapelle Grange, Michael. I did see that in the news yesterday. Heathcote Shiraz may be a bit heavy today. Oh, absolutely. I think Heathcote Shiraz is very much a winter wine. And I would usually suggest drinking this wine on a cooler day, but I think that we get away with it because it's got a little bit of elegance. Okay, you can absolutely trick your friends into drinking this who said they hate Shiraz. Jill doesn't like this wine, so Jill's having some Pinot Noir over there. Richard's come to get some Shiraz. There you go. She's going to taste it. Oh, my goodness. That's very brave. Very brave. I'm impressed. Nina and Peter are saying it's sneeze-free peppery. Nice. Excellent. And Fiona, I'm seeing that little bit of anise as well. It does come up quite nicely. Yeah, Michael, I've got a couple of friends who are wine writers who are at the Grange Hermitage La Chapelle release in France. It looks amazing. I'm quite happy to be here though. The dyes get the peppery nose, absolutely. And just a little bit, because it's a whole bunch ferment, you just get a little bit of kind of candied, like almost like there's a little bit of raspberry jube, a little bit of cherry, boiled sweet kind of aromatic to that wine that comes from that little bit of carbonic maceration that happens in the early stages of the whole bunch ferment. Now, if there's anyone out there who's new and who's not got onto the chat yet, please feel free to chat. We love new guests, and I know that we've got a couple of new members at least who have signed up in the last few weeks, which is really exciting. So welcome to any newbies who are just sitting there quietly and listening. If you're not sure about anything, please feel free to, if you're not happy to get on the chat, feel free to send me an email during the week, a little text message. All of you who have been on this for a while have got my phone number, but I'm happy to give it out to the world. Well, I'll give it to you later. Carbonic maceration is a really interesting part of the whole bunch fermentation that we've talked about a few times in this forum. But just to refresh those of you who've heard this before, hello, Lines, how you going? A little bit of eucalyptus, licorice root, really delicious. We can be really boring, Kay, but we're fun too. Fun and boring at the same time. Before I talk about carbonic maceration, I am going to taste the wine with a bit of lamb. So you're going to have to bear with me while I eat some lamb. Excuse me for a moment. Wow. Jill's given me a lot of lamb. Yum. That's really good. Leonie and Peter are fighting about eucalyptus. Oh my God. That is so amazing with the lamb. The lamb fat and the sweetness of the meat is just amazing with the herbal notes and the spiciness, and that juicy blackberry fruit in there is really delicious. I think, for me, there's a tiny little bit of there's a little bit of eucalyptus. I would actually normally call it a wild mint aromatic because I don't think it's as strong as eucalyptus. If we put this up against, say, a Coonawarra Shiraz, where there's, it's warmer and there's a lot of eucalyptus oil in the air, and that's a really distinctive character of Coonawarra Shiraz, this wine wouldn't have any of that character at all. It doesn't bother me, that little hint. I think it's quite nice. But because there's lots of other things going on as well. The licorice root absolutely lines, I think, and that Fiona talked about anise just before, and I think that sort of it's like a triangulation of eucalyptus or wild mint, anise, and licorice root, and there's something right in the middle that is really, really lovely. Definitely there's a cool herbal note, Loans, absolutely. I think with the Greek salad, I'm not sure whether the tomato is really what we want with the Shiraz, but if you're going to match tomato, my bits of tomato are too big for me to shove a bit in my mouth. If you're going to match tomato to Shiraz, then a cool climate Shiraz is going to be much better with tomato than a warm climate Shiraz. So let me give it a go. Hang on a sec. This could get messy. Hang on. Expert. Big mouth. A little bit of feta in there as well. I'll just spat on my computer. Whoops. Tomato, it's really difficult to match to a lot of French grape varieties, but a peppery Shiraz is terrific. Pete, yes. We're okay. We're in a safe space, Pete, so we can say lots of things that we might not say out in the world with people who maybe don't understand. And there's only a few of us here. Hardly anyone's watching, so it's all good. The tomato is really interesting. If you try and match barbecued or grilled tomato or even roasted tomato to Cabernet or to Pinot Noir, it makes the wine taste quite bitter, and it's really unpleasant. Whereas with a cool climate Shiraz with that peppery note, yes, Fiona, tomato and pepper work really well together. So that pepperiness and the fact that the Shiraz has got good structure, but it's got different tannin structure to it than a lot of other Shirazes. And of course, we don't add any tannin to this wine. There's a lot of kind of classic Australian Shirazes that have a bit of tannin added during the winemaking. I'm not going to name any names here because I don't think we need to go down that path, but it does make for heavier reds and wines that have a more structured palate. And for me, I find wines that have got obvious added tannins to be quite drying and tiring on the palate. So I love the fact that we add a bit of extra tannin by doing a whole bunch of ferments and having the stalks in the ferment, but that's all the natural tannin that comes from the bunch of grapes in the first place, rather than tannin that comes from cooking off stalks and adding them back, or cooking off skins and adding them back, or even, there's lots of different ways of making tannin that don't feel like the natural tannins that occur in that grape variety, and can be a bit overwhelming. Karen's getting blackberries. I do, absolutely. Fiona, I'll answer that in a second. Loans, absolutely. The McIntyre Reds do always have exotic spice. There's Alison, it's opening up on the nose. That was really developing. Yeah, absolutely. All of those spices and herbs and things are coming through, as well as the pepper, as well as that juicy blackberry fruits coming up a lot more. Michael says, I reckon this differs from the flagship Aussie Shirazes by its lack of obvious sweetness. It's fruity but not sweet. Absolutely. And it doesn't have, so a lot of Aussie Shirazes are grown in warmer climates, so you get more fruit concentration and you get more fruit sweetness, but often that fruit gets it's like cooked fruit or jam in the way that it ripens. So you get that extra sweet kind of note to it. It's really easy to make fruity, sweet fruited wines in Australia. Getting savouriness into the wine is more complicated, and it's part of our sort of raison d'etre here at Moorooduc, is to make wine that has yes, an Australian accent to it, but it needs to have complexity, it needs to have depth, and it needs to have savouriness to it as well, which is why we use wild ferments, which is why we grow the fruit where we do. It's why we work hard in the winery to not do very much to the wine, because that all gives us the savouriness to the wine that adds on to the core of sweet fruit that is very Australian. Okay, there's a hint of cinnamon on the palate. Yep, absolutely. Fiona wants to know, how do you add tannin? Okay, so you can buy powdered tannin from the winemaking shop. I think powdered tannin is usually made from dried and powdered grape skins, but I'm not really sure because we've never used it, so I haven't. And I did learn it for my MW exams, but I think I've forgotten it. But powdered tannin that gets added to the ferment helps to fix colour. So when you get a wine that's got incredibly dark colour, then it's either got lots of natural tannin from the skins and possibly the stalks, or the winemaker's added some tannin to fix that colour and also to give the wine more tannic structure around the palate. Now, if you're making wine that has very ripe fruit, then sometimes the tannins will have ripened so that they don't have the structure that winemakers want to see. So traditional modern Australian winemaking in warm climates includes quite a lot of includes tannin addition quite a lot of the time. And thank you, Jill. Jill's brought me some more serviettes in case I get lamb all over my face, all over my fingers. And again, we've never done it, so I really don't know. I don't really know the ins and outs of the technique of adding tannin, but I believe it happens early on in the fermentation process, because you're wanting to fix colours, you're wanting to fix certain flavours, and you're wanting to give it a boost to its structure. It's something that we've never done here at. Karen, that's a really good question. The words might come from a similar background. So Karen's asked, is tannin related to tanneries and tanning? The geeky me is wondering if they fix the colour. No, it might be the same. It may be the same basis of the word, but no, it's a completely different process. So tanning leather, it was traditionally done. Traditionally, leather tanning was done using stale urine because it was a really good. The uric acid was very good for tanning skin, and we don't use any urine in winemaking. Even the people in South Australia don't do that. So they might be similar word names, and they might come from the fixing of the colour. I don't know, but tannins in wine mostly come from the skins of the grapes, and that's why we ferment red wine on their skins, and the tannins give us. Thank you, Fiona. The tannins give you texture. If you're unsure about what tannins feel like and you want to take it away from wine, if you make a cup of very strong black tea and let it go cold and then have a sip, that bitterness and the mouth drying sensation is tannin. You can also, my pleasure, Michael, I'm always happy to add a little bit of, I'm sure I always think I read the most random books and, lots and lots of historical books as a child. And I think I learned about tanning that way first when I read Clan of the Cave Bear, because, Isla, has anyone here read Clan of the Cave Bear? If you've had, the first book is really good, then the books get significantly worse as you go on through the series. But Isla, who is the hero of the book, she tans hides and leather that way. She was living a long, long time. They do go downhill majorly, Fiona, but the first book was fabulous. And it's amazing the things you learn from reading fiction. historical fiction particularly. Okay, I'm missing people's questions. Blah, blah, blah. Loans is getting the Cabernet reference. Michael's talking about savouriness. Absolutely is our mantra, Michael. We probably don't say it enough, but it is absolutely our mantra. Always has been. Fiona, Chinese 5-spice with anise and cinnamon and the rest. Absolutely. Nareem's finding it very earthy on the nose and the palate, and I agree. It's got that earthy kind of sort of leaf mould kind of autumnal character to it, which is why I always think of it as being an autumn-winter kind of a wine. I answered that question, Karen. I think John wants to know if you know when the grapes were picked in the month and compared to when this year's Shiraz would be picked. Okay. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Cody. I understand what you're asking. I should have checked. 2015 was a really lovely year. Everything happened when we wanted it to happen, and it was not particularly cool, but it was not particularly warm. And the wines from 2015 were delicious when they were young, and I think that they work really, really well sort of drinking them now. The 2016 was a slightly warmer year, and we've been looking at the 2015 and 2016 Pinots, and we think the 2016 Pinots look a little bit better than the 2015 Pinots right now, but I haven't looked at the two Shirazes next to each other, so I can't tell you the answer to that. But John, I can't tell you when. I imagine that this fruit was probably picked in very late March, possibly early April. I'm looking at Richard, and he's looking blankly at me, and he's mid-March, he would think. There you go. But it's usually about a month after the Pinot Noir is picked that the Shiraz is ready to pick. And now also, hopefully, the Nebbiolo at the same time as the Shiraz. So David initially said bark, and I might have missed a previous comment from you, David, because you said a little while ago, are you talking about a bark-like smell, or are you barking at me? Please elucidate. Polly's very good at doing what she's told. Polly, bark. No, she's not going to now. Send your thoughts about Clan of the Cave Bear. I think Clan of the Cave Bear, Fiona says, is something all Gen X girls read in high school, also available in all good laundrettes. My father has read Clan of the Cave Bear at least 20 times. He quite likes it. He said not true. I'm slandering his good name. Cassia bark, tanning leather. David Inchley, tanning leather, bark. Oh, using bark for tanning leather, David, is that what you're suggesting? I heard you say it's whole bunch, 100% or less. It is 100%, and we get a stem-like flavour and carbonic maceration in the early stages of the fermentation, because they're whole bunches and we don't squash them until they start doing their thing inside the berries. So a little bit of thank you, David. I appreciate you expanding your comments. Tanning leather bark wine grape skins. Okay, cool. They probably have a similar origin as far as language is concerned. But yeah, Craig will be happy with an honourable Nebbiolo mention. I try and slip one in as often as I can. Nareem, I heard you say it's a whole bunch. Sorry, I got halfway through reading that. 100% or less. Suspect it's higher as I got a stem-like flavour, but carbonic maceration. So yes. Peter, stop it. Peter's suggesting tan bark. Thank you. That's confusing things. So yes, so Nareem, in the early stages of a whole bunch ferment, you get some carbonic maceration happening inside the berries, and then Richard gets in and walks on it because he's the only person who's allowed to walk on the whole bunch ferments here. And Peter's getting some laughs for his clever wordplay. Well done, Pete. Cheers. And then once we break the berries, then you get regular fermentation happening, and the more the bunches get broken down, the more contact the juice/wine has with the stalks, which means that we then extract more tannins from the stalks and get those more woody stalk characters in the wine. Fiona wants to know, Richard, why is Richard the only one allowed to walk on the grapes? It's his project.
It's not true, nobody else wants to.
Sorry. I thought that was going to be really easy to do quickly. And it wasn't. Polly's barking now. You've got her going. Absolutely, Nareem. I don't know if you heard Richard's comment from across the room. He said it's absolutely not true that he's the only one who's allowed to walk on the grapes. It's just that nobody else wants to. That's not true. I'd love to, but I don't want to take it away from him because he loves it so much. He's giving me looks. Okay. Kay is saying this wine. Hello, Polly. Are they not giving you any lamb? That's very mean. Kay's saying the wine's like a slow dance. It is a bit apprehensive but comfortable and develops into waltz, 2 steps and a rumba. Absolutely. I like it. Peter's still on the tan bark, sourced from the local playground for that extra je ne sais quoi. Thank you, Peter. Fiona, is the wild yeast on his feet? Richard has all the wild yeast. That's why we need to use him that way. He doesn't have tinea. He has very clean feet, lovely toenails, no nail polish. It might be because I've got nail polish on my toes that I'm not allowed to walk on the grapes, but I do take it off usually. It's awfully difficult. He's being pragmatic. He's now saying that there could not possibly be any problems with it because he does wear very clean gumboots that are kept just for the walking on the whole bunch of ferments. Garden Vineyard Pinot and McIntyre Shiraz. I think we're going down a rabbit hole now. It's a Jesus thing, says David. Yes, I think that's right. Jeff or Sue are suggesting largest feet. Nina, take a walk on the wild yeast side. Thank you. Fiona, you're on song or on thong. Well, Richard does like wearing thongs, flip-flops. We like to call them in England. Thanks. Very nice, Fiona. I've got to the end of the conversation. Whew. And I've got to nearly the end of my glass of wine. Can we get back to the wine? Absolutely, Michael. Hang on. I'm going to have a look at my glass that I put an ice block in now and see whether it's significantly damaged by that one ice block. It's a nice temperature still. It's warming up slowly, but I think the ice block has definitely made it a little bit cooler still. And it does take away a little bit of the concentration. Richard's come to say something.
There has been an advance in the technique since 2015. And in the last 2 years, I think, 1 or 2 years, the gumboots have gone. And the tinea will be there, if it's there, but it isn't.
It's more natural with natural feet. So there you go. So you got the word from the boss, the scoop. Hang on. What do you think RP Robert Parker Jr. would have said? I don't think he would. Everyone's laughing, Richard. They think that's excellent. Robert Parker Jr. would not have given this wine a second thought. It's not heavy enough, rich enough, concentrated enough, alcoholic enough to do well. And you'll notice that I just poured myself some more from the bottle because I do think that I think having it at the right temperature to start off with rather than putting an ice block in it, the wine's better without the ice block in it. Alison got down to 13.5, but you think 17 is better. Temperature-wise, goodness. Yes, I think 16, 17 is a good temperature for this wine. Hopefully where you are, things are cooling down. As I said, we've got all the doors and windows open and there's lovely, lovely breezes coming through for me now. And I think, Alison, there is such a thing as making red wine too cold. But getting it just right, and again, on a hot day, and if it's too cold and the room isn't warming it up for you enough, I'm going to show you with my ice block wine. your hands are hotter than the room. And if you put your hands on there like that, preferably not when you've got lamb fat all over your fingers, but you can warm wine up really quickly with your hands on a day like today as well. Melbourne's gone from 34 to 24 in the last hour. Yes, it was supposed to do that, and I was hoping that it would do it just as we started. And just as we started, the cool breezes started coming across the hill here. It's really rather wonderful. So, yeah, Michael, I think this is a wine for drinkers rather than for wine critics. This wine would not do well in a wine show because notice we've spent 45 minutes tasting it and it keeps changing in the glass. It keeps evolving. It keeps I think it keeps looking better and better as it sits in the glass and interacts with the air. I told you not to decant it, and I think that was the right decision. But if you wanted to kind of get it to here quicker, you could stick it in a decanter quickly before you drank it. I wouldn't decant it hours before drinking it because you'd miss all of that evolution, and that's what's really cool about a wine like this. Kay wants to know how much of this is left. There's enough left, Kay, for you guys to buy a case each. How's that? We don't enter our wine into wine shows, Fiona. So you could probably draw some conclusions from those comments. I think wine shows are very good at picking really good wines, but they're really good wines of a certain style. And these wines are a little more subtle and take a little bit more time to get to know, which is why we sit down on a Thursday night and spend 45 minutes talking to each other while we get to know the wine. Is the case 6 or 12 bottles? We can do either, Peter. 6 bottles, 12 bottles. For you guys, we'll send you an offer. We put a little bit of this aside for exactly this reason. Although when we put it aside, we didn't know that Drinks with Kate existed, but because you are our most important wine club members, you have access to our wine club wines. So this is why we put this wine aside. Shell didn't refrigerate, had a glass while it sat in the fridge. The third glass is incredible. It's so much better, isn't it, Shell? A little bit cooler. I had this conversation with my sister in Newcastle last year with Pinot Noir, that they were sitting out on the deck. We were doing an online tasting with her girlfriends. And I said, where have you got the wine? And she said, oh, I had it in the kitchen and then I brought it out here. And I said, how does it taste? She said, oh, it's a bit warm. It's a bit, I said, put it in the fridge for half an hour. Pour everyone a little bit so that we can talk about it, but stick it in the fridge. And the second glass out of the fridge, they said, was so much better than the first glass. It's amazing. A little temperature drop is really awesome. We're getting Peter won't have to deliver them. Yes. So lots and lots of lots of news about what's going on. So I did mean to get onto this before 48 minutes into the tasting, but very quickly, Pete is still doing deliveries when we have a lot of deliveries on a Thursday, but we have a really cool courier that we can send wine out with as well when we've just got one or two. So what we think it will do is when we do a release of the new Drinks with Kate box, then there's usually a whole day's worth of delivery for Pete to do. So he'll get in the car and drive around. If there's a whole day's worth of Shiraz deliveries next week, then I'm sure he will also jump in the car and deliver those around. But we're using a really lovely wine courier group who are doing a little bit of delivery for us. Not only do they deliver in refrigerated vans to Melbourne, but they also go to Sydney and Brisbane. So that's really exciting. So less Australia Post, more anonymous wine deliveries. If you're someone who can't be at home to receive the delivery, let us know when you're ordering, because then we'll send it with Australia Post, because Australia Post will take it back to a post office and you can go and pick it up at your leisure. Whereas Anonymous needs someone to accept the wine unless you tell them to leave them in a special place. And Peter also needs someone to accept the wine unless you tell him to leave it in a special place. So that's the delivery update. We have hopefully very soon the new website happening. I know I've been going on about this for years and years, but I think it's nearly done. Pete's going through it with a fine-tooth comb at the moment. And Hugh and Hook is awesome, David. Sorry, I didn't mean to like bag all wine writers. Wine writers are different from wine shows. We definitely submit our wine to wine writers. Hugh and Hook gets to see all of our wines every year. And we love Hewan, and we are trying to get him down to Moorooduc this year to do some tasting. We've been trying. He's quite hard to get hold of because he's highly in demand, but we do love Hewan. The Halliday book, we always put some wines in for that. And there's a lot of wine writers from around the world. We've just had our Pinot Noir on tasting at Wine Paris this week, with Joe Wadsack from England presenting Australian Pinot Noirs, including Moorooduc Estate. And we've had a call already from a Dutch importer who wants to import our wine over there. So I need to have a talk to them, make sure that we don't send too much away. We need to make sure that we've got enough for you guys. Yes, Karen, the nice man delivering the wine, they're beautiful, and they will come back and try and re-deliver at least once, which Australia Post doesn't do. But, you know, if you've got... Hey? What? Oh, Dad's being funny again. He said you can't ask their names because they're anonymous, which is the name of the wine delivery. It's not very funny when you have to explain it. What's Michelle saying about you, Peter? It's Michael, not Michelle. Oh, Michael. Sorry, I just can't read the screen. I think I need new glasses. That's very sad, isn't it? What's Coddy been saying? When we first started drinking seriously, we took note of wine critics. We've since learned to ignore them. They have different taste buds to us. I agree, Coddy. I think that the trick is to find the wine writers, the wine critics who suit your taste. I think there are certain wine writers, Robert Parker, when he was writing, I would know that if he gave a wine 100 points, then I knew that I wouldn't want to drink that wine. Whereas if Hugh and Hook really likes a wine, I take that as because I've drunk and tasted a lot of wine with Hugh over the years, and I think we have quite similar tastes in a lot of things. James Halliday, when he was tasting, he and I had a lot of agreement in what we thought was good. I think there's more disparity now with the Halliday book because there's a whole lot of different people writing about different regions, but they write about the same region every year, so there's some nice continuity there. And Jane Faulkner writes up the Mornington Peninsula, and I think she's terrific. We also put our wine into a couple of shows in the UK. Matthew Jukes in the UK has selected our wine for his top 100 Australian wine for the last 3 years, which is really exciting. There's lots of people out there in the world. I think we still have to woo the Americans. The Americans don't quite get us yet, but it is all subjective at the end of the day. And I think sitting down and drinking a bottle of wine with friends like we do here is the best way to work out whether you like a wine or not. I've just realised that we're nearly up to an hour tonight, and this is not a good. It's wonderful to talk to you guys, but you probably have like dinner to go to and people to talk to and that kind of thing. Yes, not Michelle, Michael. sorry, Michelle. I just couldn't read it properly. I think I need a slightly different prescription in my glasses. So we'll get that sorted out because it's very important for me to be able to lamb to cook. Absolutely, Peter. So it's been awesome. Love you all. Happy Valentine's Day for tomorrow. And next week I'm going to be in Sydney. So anyone who's coming to dinner with me in Sydney at I Macaroni, I look forward to seeing you there. If you're not, I will see you in 2 weeks' time with our guest wine from Rare Hair, which is the Robinson, the HR and RM Pinot, which comes from the Robinson Vineyard, which is why we're looking at that. I will explain all in 2 weeks' time. It's been awesome. I don't know what people love. How you think we have lives together with Kate? What's Michael saying? Nini, HVD. I don't know. I don't understand. Goodbye. Thank you, everyone. Happy Valentine's Day. Oh, got it. Thank you. Right. 54 minutes and 40 seconds is too long for me to be talking to you guys. I lose my mind. Lovely to see you all. Take care. Happy week. Love you all. Have a beautiful romantic day tomorrow, whoever you're with. Polly and I will be giving each other a kiss in the morning. See you later. Cheers.